Oh no, messieurs, ils sont sans visage. The following podcast contains spoilers for Eyes Without a Face. You have been warned.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio, where Mike didn't get absolutely offensive this time with the French accent.
I mean, I did a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was better than Monsieur Hula.
The French I spoke is Google, so if it's wrong, blame Google. I said, "Oh no, my eyes, they are without a face."
Oh,
so that's what that means.
I kind of see what you did there.
Yes. How you doing?
I'm all right. Working late lately because I've been staying up way too late lately and getting to work late lately, and it's just a domino effect of things. But right now, I'm cozied the fuck out in some sweatpants, a little waffle thermal shirt, and I got this new cardigan that's like kind of long, so it looks like a mom's cardigan, but it's for me. And I am comfy the fuck out of here.
I was gonna say you sound comfier than usual.
It's the only thing I'm missing is some hot tea right next to me.
There you go. Yeah,
and then I'm cozy cream. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. While you were cozy, did you watch any movies? I feel like I already know the answer to this, but
you know that answer. Come on.
Yeah,
now.
I do.
I had watched the movie we saw together for our review, which was Halloween Ends. Hey, thank God it did. You know what I'm saying? And then. And then finally Sunday night, I had been kind of like waiting about a week or two for this show. I had talked about it a few weeks ago, called Pantheon, which is a genuinely good show. It's basically, I'll just kind of re-synopsis it. It's about uploading your mind to kind of the cyber web and just being eternal through your soul, but through your mind or whatever connection you want to call that. That subject matter is super intriguing to me, and I love it. I never understand it because I'm not smart enough for it.
Yeah.
But the show is really good, really well handled. My only flaw with it is it could have been one more episode, and then it could have been done as a show. But what I think they're doing is they made it one less episode to make it another season, basically. And it kind of infuriates me a little bit because I was ready to finish it and be like, oh, man, that was actually so good. Now I'm like, man, that was so good. But now I have to watch another season most likely in the future. It weirdly ties itself together, but it's enough to leave you being like, oh, now what the fuck are they going to do, you know?
Yeah.
But that was a really good show regardless. I would recommend it. And then finally, I watched Eyes Without a Face, which we shall get into. But you, Michael, tell me.
I watched 10 movies. Sorry, I was just thrown off by that singing. The first one was for the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. For the November episode, it's called An Affair to Remember. It's from the 1950s. It is a rom-com, as the title suggests. You can find out my thoughts in the November episode of Cinema Bucket List, where I will discuss it a little bit further.
Which, by the way, people, if you haven't watched an episode yet, you're kind of missing out. And how dare you?
How dare you?
I can vouch for how good they are.
I'm putting so much work into these things. And
you are, and it's showing. I like it a lot.
Next, I watched Marvel's newest special presentation, as they called it, Werewolf by Night. With Gael Garcia Bernal. It is a Marvel Wolfman movie kind of thing. I don't know much about like where it stands in the MCU, but it is part of the MCU. Gael Garcia Bernal's in it, and I love Wolfman. The aesthetic of it is incredible. It's shot much like the old Universal horror movies. So I really enjoyed it more than I enjoy most Marvel things, mainly because it didn't feel like a Marvel thing.
That's kind of a plus.
Yes, it's mostly black and white. There's a little bit of color towards the end, but it's mostly black and white, which was really cool. And I highly suggest people check that out. It's less than an hour, so there's really no reason not to.
Oh, that's not too bad.
It's not one of these 10-hour seasons of TV shows or anything. It's just, I think it's like 55 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Then we watched Halloween Ends. You can check out what we thought on the YouTubes. Then I watched my film Banshee because I just finished it.
I also watched that.
You did. I didn't want to bring it up that you didn't mention it, but watched it for the first time as completed, and have probably watched it like 3 or 4 times since. But I did not list every time because I didn't want to seem like I'm conceited on Letterboxd. But yeah,
I see why I didn't list it. Sorry, go ahead.
It's all good. That will be available eventually. He's got to do a festival run first. I'll probably mention on here when festivals are. So if people want to check it out, they're more than welcome to. Then for the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die November episode, I watched The 5 Venoms, which is a 1978 kung fu movie.
I was confused. I'm like, there's only like 2 of them, aren't there? Right now.
It is about as it has all the great stereotypes of a 1970s kung fu movie. But you can find out more about my thoughts in November. Then for the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, I watched City Lights, a Charlie Chaplin film. If you like Charlie Chaplin, you're going to like that. But you can find out more of my thoughts in November. Then Caitlin and I went on a much-needed date. We hadn't been on a date in a long time because when your new
you
parents...
guys kissed, didn't you?
No, I never tell. I've actually never kissed her in my entire life.
That's actually impressive to see how far you've come.
Yes. No, but yeah, we kissed a little bit. And then she wanted to see Don't Worry, Darling, so I rewatched that. The only reason I rewatched it is because she wanted to see it.
Of course.
Still about as wasted potential as I initially thought. She liked it, though, so,
that's
Glenn
good.
And I are not the end-all, be-all of movie knowledge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everyone...
Also, pray to the Lord if that ever does happen.
Yes, everyone should honestly, listen to us. We like talking to you guys about movies, but make your own decisions, make your own opinions. If you really want to see something, go see it. If you're on the fence, maybe listen to us.
Yeah.
There you go. Then I watched Eyes Without a Face. We're going to talk about that in a second. It was a rewatch. I had seen it before. Then I watched Weird Al's movie from 1989, UHF. It's about as weird and goofy as a Weird Al movie would be expected to be.
Did his movie come out with Mr. Radcliffe?
Not yet, I believe. Surprisingly, I think they might be doing an Oscar push. So
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it would be. I don't know. I think it's coming out in December, which usually means they're doing an Oscar push, but who knows? Then for the 1001 Movies November episode, I rewatched Blade Runner. Find out more about my thoughts in the November episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I watch. Not too much. Just
not too
more
bad
than a movie a day. It's not a big deal. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get into Eyes Without a Face.
Pourquoi mens-tu? Depuis le temps que je te connais, je lis sur ton visage. Dis-moi la vérité.
Les gens n'approfondiront pas. Ils ne chercheront pas à savoir ce qui se passe ici, surtout.
Mais que se passe-t-il dans cette mystérieuse ville-là?
A surgeon causes an incident which leaves his daughter disfigured and goes to extreme lengths to give her a new face.
Yes, it is directed by Georges Franju, written by Jean Redon, Pierre Bellou. It's based on the novel by Jean Redon, and the adaptation is Pierre Boileau. Again, I apologize for all my terrible French pronunciation. Thomas Narcejac. Jean Redon also helped with the adaptation. Claude Sauté and Sauté, I just think of sautéed onions.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
so
Claude. And Pierre Gascar. It is starring Pierre Brasseur, Alida Valli, Juliette Mayniel, and Alexandre Renault. And yeah, I actually, now that we're into the episode a bit, I didn't want to give too much away about having seen this movie. I own it on Blu-ray, so that should go to tell you how I enjoy this movie. But it is, of course, a streaming roulette pick. The Gods of Film had picked it. Oh, well, the Gods of Film gave us 3, and then we picked it out of the 3.
Of course.
So yeah, I kind of want to just hear your thoughts for the most part on this. I do have things to say, I do have things to add, but since this was your first time watching it, I want to hear what you think. What did you think of Eyes Without a Face?
My thoughts on Eyes Without a Face. So I was kind of flustered, shall I say, because I feel like people liked it more than I did. And a lot of people liked it more than I did, which is kind of alarming. I guess my biggest issue with it mainly came from its pacing.
I totally understand that. It is a very slow-paced movie.
Yeah, not in any way that it's like a bad movie. That was kind of its biggest flaw with it, is how long it felt like it tried to get to certain spots, and when it did, it feel like it didn't exactly pay off in those moments. But I mean, other than that, I enjoyed it. I loved first off the fact that you're sitting there in the beginning of the movie, you're like, God, I want to see her face, because they're hiding it so fucking well. You're like, God, I want to see her face so fucking bad. I want to see her face. And then luckily it doesn't make you wait for the whole movie to actually see it. And they show it maybe a little bit before the halfway point through it.
Yeah.
Maybe like a half hour in. And you're like, yeah, that was worth it. That was fucking, yeah, she's brutally ugly. Jesus. Horrifying. I like the build up to that, because you're sitting there, you're like, man, I want to see because every time the camera was turned to her, it was just the back of her head or like the side of her head, but you never actually saw any point of her face. And then that big build up to when she walked up to one of the victims and bada bing, bada boom, she got scared as much as I did.
She actually said bada bing, bada boom, too.
She did. And you would think like an Italian would say that, but no, this was a French woman. Crazy times that we lived in back in the 60s. But I mean, yeah, other than the pacing, I enjoyed it. Especially the doctor who's just trying to fix his daughter.
Yeah.
Doesn't really give a shit about too much about these other women as long as his daughter is fixed for the accident that he caused.
Yeah.
And, this woman who's his assistant, who he helped fix before his daughter got into an accident, she's just dead set on trying to help him no matter what, because, she was disfigured, and he helped her. I found a lot of the elements in this was really cool. It was the pacing that kind of took me back a little bit by it. Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah. I personally think this is a very atmospheric film. I think that's the best part about it. I personally love the pacing of it, but I also like slower movies when done correctly. And
Mike also knows that I'm not the biggest fan of older movies either.
And so I feel like your biggest problem with older movies is the pacing, probably 75% of the time, if not more.
Yeah. It's never to say that those old movies are bad. It's just I sit there and I pace and I'm like,
yeah. But my favorite part about this is that the doctor, played by Pierre Brassard, I don't know why I went to say his name. I can't pronounce his name. But anyway, he's a bad guy, but he's not evil.
I'm bad guy, but I'm not bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's driven by guilt and he's striving for knowledge and being able to fix this problem that he created. And he's obviously a horrible person in the sense that he doesn't care about anyone but himself and his daughter. But it doesn't stem from a place of blind bloodlust. It's there's an end to the means, and in his mind, the end justifies the means. And the thing I really liked about it is the one victim who wakes up and sees her face when they eventually take her face to put it on to Christiane. they show you that he's not killing these people. The woman in the beginning either died from an accident, or much like the second woman, died from running away and like falling or whatever. It's not, killing them is not the goal. It's more imprisoning them until they can figure out. Yeah, it's how it happened, and it's imprisoning them again, not justifying it at all. But it would have been so easy for them to just be like, "Oh, we're gonna kill these people." But it showed you that he was actually trying horribly to do the right thing, even though he went about the worst way possible. And it kind of, for lack of a better word, created this not sympathy but understanding. Like, you understand where he's coming from. Like, you would never do it, but you understand where he's coming from.
You better watch yourself. And you don't know me, Mike.
Yeah. And another thing I love about it is that in the beginning, they have this like red herring where the woman who ends up being like his assistant, she's dumping a body in the river, and you're just like, hold up. And then you hear these policemen talking to him about his daughter who's missing, and how the scars on the woman's face resemble that of his daughter's face. And it really creates this suspicion that he might be like a victim in this. Yeah. Of course, that's going in without knowing the plot. And they let that go on for 30 full minutes until you realize. Like, they even have the one father whose daughter it actually is come up to him and be like, "Are you sure it was your daughter?" Blah, blah, blah. And he even has the audacity to say, "Funny how I should be the one to comfort you."
Yeah.
When he's the reason that guy's daughter's missing. But you don't know that at the time. And so it's not until the 30-minute point, which again brings us to the pacing that you weren't totally in love with, when you finally find out that his daughter's alive and he lied to the police in order to get this body that he could make for his, say is his daughter's, so that it takes suspicion off of him and everything. And it's just such a interesting way to go about it. It's a unique film, to say the least.
Regardless of its pacing, it was a big oh shit moment and had me a little bewildered. I was like, oh god damn, this guy.
Yeah. And
now
that's
I
what
understand what was going on in the beginning with the body and the woman. I was like, what the hell is this lady doing?
Yeah. And that's what I love most about this movie. It's very atmospheric. It leads you along and showing you what you think to be one thing, and then showing you that it's completely false and there's the fabrication. And it also has this creepy design of Christian, who has the mask that fits perfectly to her face and almost looks like a face, but it doesn't move. It's plastic or plaster, or whatever it's made out of, and it's such a creepy look and creates such a ominous atmosphere that just blends well with the doctor character and the assistant character who's infatuated with the doctor because he saved her face. And I love this movie. I can't say it enough, but I completely understand where you're coming from at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the fact of how I feel about pacing in any old-timey movie, this movie was solid. It had its oh shit moments, and even the ending, everything was summed up to how each person deserved what they got, in their own way. I read one comment saying this is like You Go Girl movie, like she deserved that type movie, and she did. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it was. No matter what I say, it is a solid film as far as it goes. It's just the pacing. That's all it is, and that's not even that big of a deal. You know?
And it is totally a You Go Girl movie because not only did her father cause an accident that messed up her face, he comes up with this plan that essentially imprisons her until he can fix it, when the acceptable way to go about it would be to let her acclimate to her new life with her new face, get her skin grafts, which I'm pretty sure were a thing around then. I could be wrong. Not face transplants, but like a skin graft to kind of clean up her face a little bit, make it more presentable. And so, yeah, essentially, she becomes a prisoner to her own father who caused this accident. So, when she lets the dogs go, which I read one thing that like the dogs were the only people who didn't judge her by her looks, which is why dogs are the best. Dogs are great. And when she lets them go and then they attack and kill her father, it is a really like, yeah, get him. You're cool. Go girl. You go girl. Yas queen kind of thing.
A huge Yas queen.
Yas.
and just the way the dogs were the ones to get him too is like it was just a big full circle.
Because he was experimenting on them too.
Yeah, he was experimenting on them, and he kind of just put them in cages, just like he put his daughter in a air quotes cage. It was just solid way to go around.
Yeah,
I've really liked it. Really surprised actually. I watched this at work. I'll say that I watched it at work on my phone, but it didn't take away from anything. It didn't take away from my experience watching the movie because you were. Just because the way I feel about the pacing doesn't mean you weren't attached to the story and what was going on in any way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, you're more attached to the story because you're feeling the slowness. You're feeling that your questions aren't being answered. So if anything, it shows that you were more attached to the story than normal because otherwise you probably wouldn't even notice the pacing. But me, I like a slow burn. I like it when movies take their time and, yeah, this definitely takes its time. It's got great artistic design to it, like with the mask and the down to the bandages on the women that he removes the faces from. It's just a beautifully looking film.
Well, even setting alone, like if you look at the trees in the beginning of the movie when like the whole funeral's going on, and they're just. It takes place in the fall, it seems. So like all these trees are just barren of leaves, and they're just they look like something out of Tim Burton. It was really cool to see that. I'm like, those are some scary ass trees.
Yeah, definitely. It's great setting, great design, great performances from everyone. It's and even like the woman that Christiane kills. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name, Christiane.
Yeah, I don't attempt it.
Edith Scobb is the woman who played her. I'm just going to call her Edith. But when she kills his assistant because she walks in when she's setting the other victim free, like the pain in the assistant's eyes is beautiful. Like, to her, she really was just trying to help this girl whose face got messed up. And it created like this 3-dimensional pain that, otherwise could have been completely overlooked. But
I'm not gonna lie, I did laugh at that part though.
Yeah, I mean it's a little funny, but it's
because she got stabbed directly in the throat and then was like, "How?" It wasn't not emotional. I just laughed at how it happened. I was just like,
yeah,
that's amazing.
Like if you listen to, I know you were at work, but if you listen to it like on a good sound system, like there's like gurgling in that line delivery.
Oh wow, yeah.
That makes it more believable. But from like if you get rid of that gurgling, it's just like why? Why do you do this?
It was a good laugh, but I felt the whole moment for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's also one of those shocking things. Sometimes shocking things can be funny. For instance, in Halloween Ends, in the very beginning, when that thing happened, it's kind of funny, even though it's not funny.
Thing.
It's just so shocking that it's just funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I absolutely love this movie, and I'm glad that even though with the pacing issues you had with it, you liked it too.
I'm just a basic bitch about pacing. I'm just a basic bitch.
Yeah. You got anything else to say?
I think that's honestly all.
All right. So that does it for our review for Eyes Without a Face. That brings us to the judgment. As always, it needs to be a unanimous decision whether or not it goes on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. I think it's obvious what I'm going to say, so I'm just going to, go on with it, kind of build you up to your yes or no. This is definitely going on the shelf for me. It's one of my favorite French films. Especially from the 60s, which is notoriously not my favorite time for French movies, even though most cinephiles love the 60s and French movies. But yeah, I really love this. I think it goes on the shelf. But what do you think, Glenn?
All right. Well, listen. I've got a lot of thinking about it, But at the end of the day, I would say that it probably goes on to the shelf.
Nice.
Regardless how I feel about pacing, no matter it's just my flaw when it comes to it. It's just me sitting through moments. But regardless of that, it's a solid fucking film. Almost damn near perfect, if not. Just not in my eyes because of the pacing, but it's perfect in every other aspect.
That's like a personal opinion of yours, and not
it's a personal
fact.
Thing.
Yeah.
But regardless, goes on the shelf. I want other people to see this, and like I said last week, it makes me want to watch that Antonio Banderas film.
Did you ever find out what it was?
The Skin I Live In. I'm assuming.
Okay, so it was the one that I brought up.
Because I looked it up afterward, and this was the closest thing that I had seen that was probably it. But I guess we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I've been meaning to watch that as well. But anyway, Eyes Without a Face goes onto the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. And that does it for the 2022 Spooktacular Spooktober. KFR Spooktacular Spooktober, that is. We had a great Spooktacular Spooktober.
Yeah.
A nice, solid 6 movies. Not all of them made the shelf, but a lot did.
They did pretty good compared to other seasons.
Yes, they did. So that brings us to our next assignment. We are going to be taking a week off, so we will not have an episode on November 7th. We will have an episode on November 14th and do one normal round before jumping into our holiday spectacular.
Yeah.
Yes. So our next episode is going to be on the 14th, and what you need to watch. There is an American remake of a Swedish movie coming out starring Tom Hanks, and I love the Swedish version. So, Glenn, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to read subtitles.
I'm okay with it.
We are going to be watching the 2015 film from Hannes Holm called A Man Called Uwe. It is going to be available on Prime, along with several other things like Tubi, Pluto, pretty much all the free ones. And I pronounced the name wrong completely. It's Uwe, not Ove. Uwe, an ill-tempered, isolated retiree who spends his days enforcing block association rules and visiting his wife's graves, has finally given up on life just as an unlikely friendship develops with his boisterous new neighbors. It is written and directed by Hannes Holm, based on the novel by Fredrik Backman. It is starring Rolf Lassgård, Bahar Pars, Philip Berg, and Ida Engvall. So the main reason I'm picking this one is that I love it, first of all. I know you haven't seen it. But I found something out about the American one that made me kind of irritated, and I'll go into that more if after watching this again.
Yeah.
Like pushes that even more. So I may be angry about the I'm going to see the American remake regardless, but I might be irritated if what I think happens in this one does indeed happen in this one, and I'm not just remembering it incorrectly. Yeah, I'll let you know next time when we record. So yes, next week's film is A Man Called Uwe. That is going to be on Amazon Prime, Tubi, Crackle, Plex. I can't talk right now.
It's okay.
But yeah,
you're turning into me.
And it actually looks like on Amazon it's just going to be rent. So if you don't want to rent, no, it's included with Prime. Man, IMDb is confusing sometimes.
All over.
Yeah, so Crackle, Plex, Prime Video, and Tubi, and you can rent it for $2 if you want. I believe it is worth $2 if you do not have Prime and don't want to sit through ads. So yes, A Man Called Uwe.
Det är förbjudet att köra bil i det här området. Men du kanske inte kan läsa svenska skyltar nu.
Jo, det kan jag. Men är du blind kanske? Är det jag som kör?
Hunden ska sluta pinka på våra plattor.
Lyssna inte på den elaka gubben, Prins. Anders, såg du vad gubben gjorde?
Vad gjorde du med hunden? Det är väl ingen hund. Ser mer ut som en vinterkänga med ögon. 27 augusti så lånade min trädgårdsslang. Behöver den nu.
Ska du vattna nu i mars?
Du, om du vattnar dit så vattnar jag dit.
Vad är det med dig egentligen, Ove? Jag vet vad det är. Du är rättshaverist.
Rädda livet på honom! rädda livet på honom, Peter.
Anyway, that does it. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we're Keystone_film_review. Twitter, Keystone_film. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike KFR.
And I am Glenn KFR.
And that will do it until we watch a Swedish movie next week. Next two weeks. I'm Swedish, so I'm allowed to make fun of the Swedish accent. So
I can't believe
that's not true. That's not true. I mean, I am Swedish, but I can't make fun of it. I think I did crack some point.
At
during
some
that
point,
review.
I think you did inject yourself somewhere in there.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.